What's up, everyone? This has been Falcon's Media Corner, back again with another double AK After I Saw review episode for today. For this double AK After I Saw review series, this is going to be on two films I saw that were released last year by Disney, which one was a theatrical release film and the other being a Disney Plus exclusive. So, these two films I'm going to talk to you guys today are Jungle Cruise and Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So let's kick off with Jungle Cruise. And so this comes to us from the director of a few horror films, which were House of Wax remake, Orphan, and The Shallows, and he has directed a few Liam Neeson action thrillers such as Unknown, Run All Night, Non-Stop, and The Commuter. So he's now done a Disney film, but this one being based on a theme park attraction. So this is another Disney film that's based off of a theme park attraction since Pirates of the Caribbean, in which in this film we follow Emily Blunt's character named Lily, who is this archaeologist, and she has a brother named McGregor, played by Jack Whitehall, and they basically go on this adventure with this captain of a small lifeboat named Frank, played by Dwayne Johnson, and they go on this adventure through the jungles to basically try and get to the Tree of Life, where it has this power to heal anything, and maybe may be a new discovery of the future for medicines and stuff. And they're basically trying to get their hands on it quickly, because there are some bad guys who are after the Tree of Life, which consists of Germans, who's led by Jesse Plemons' character, as well as Édgar Ramírez's character, who's who is someone from the dead and stuff. So we see Frank, Lily, and McGregor. They have to try to do whatever they can to basically get to the Tree of Life before the bad guys get their hands on it. So that's pretty much the story of Jungle Cruise. Now, I was really looking forward to this movie. The trailers really got me interested when I first saw the trailers, when the movie was originally going to come out. Although I didn't even know this was based off a theme park attraction, because the first thing that comes into my head when it comes to Disney movies based on theme park attractions is, of course, the Pirates of the Caribbean movies with Johnny Depp, which I enjoyed the first one a lot. Second one was pretty good. 3 was decent. 4, I'm not a fan of 4. And 5 was okay. And I was really surprised with the big star cast you got on this film. You got Dwayne Johnson, who I'm a big fan of. I was looking forward to seeing what he was going to do for another Disney film he's making. Because of course, when it comes to him in Disney films, I always enjoy him in Disney films. But my most favorite of them of all will always be Moana. I love Moana. So do my friends and my family. And you also have Emily Blunt, who I'm a big fan of. Jack Whitehall, he's really funny. Paul Giamatti, he's a great actor. And you also have Jesse Plemons, he's really talented, and Édgar Ramírez, he's pretty talented. I was looking forward to seeing what they can do for a film like this. And for the director, which he has done a few horror films and a few action thrillers, I was looking forward to seeing what he can do for a film like this that's based on a theme park attraction. And this was originally scheduled released back in 2020, but of course got delayed because of the pandemic. I didn't hear much about it until last year, when this film got a new release date, which was going to be released towards the end of July, both in cinemas and on Disney Plus. And of course I was going to go and see it in cinemas, and I went to see this a couple of days after it was released in the UK in July, and my screening was really massively packed. There was a lot of people who were looking forward to this movie. There was a lot of children and a few parents who were seeing this movie, and I also did get a lovely offer for this movie after I saw the film, which was a poster for Jungle Cruise, which it's two-sided, which is really cool. It's really lovely poster for this collection. So I'd like to say, Odeon Cinema, thank you so much for this offer. And after seeing Jungle Cruise, I definitely had a good time with this one. This was definitely a fun watch here. But this is not like the next big blockbuster to become a franchise like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I wouldn't put this movie as near as that, because this one is definitely a fun watch here for both children and adults out there. And what easily makes this movie works is the performances from Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt. They're great in the movie, and I really like their chemistry together on screen. It was pretty good. And as for other actors in the film, like Jack Whitehall, Paul Giamatti, Édgar Ramírez, and Jesse Plemons, they were pretty good in the movie. Although, for the villains in this movie, I just didn't think the villains were that memorable enough for myself in this movie. And the world that we're introduced to in this film, like the whole world that we're introduced to in this film, like for different background worlds, like the sets and all that, I thought were pretty good. I really like the sets in this film, as well as when we get to see some like perilous situations and stuff that were pretty entertaining. And because it does give you a bit of a feeling like you're actually on the ride itself, like since this is based on a theme park ride, this is. And the action in this film are pretty entertaining for the most part, although when it gets to some dark moments, despite the fact this is not a PG rated film, because this is PG-13, and there are some dark stuff in this movie that may disturb some children for like some dark violent moments in this film. But I wasn't deeply disturbed because I was still having a good time watching this movie, with seeing Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt with their chemistry and all that, and some good adventurous moments in this film. But the issues I do have with this film, well, the storytelling in this film, it wasn't bad. It was just cliched. It's just pretty much cliched for any kind of particular treasure hunting, like treasure adventure films that we've already had before in the past. When it does try to focus on that, it does get pretty much a bit cliched. But again, the story wasn't all bad. And the CGI in this film, like, it is kind of noticeable, like the snakes and all that. It's pretty much noticeable, but it wasn't atrociously a mess or anything. It is kind of noticeable, really. And there are sometimes some jokes do land for me, and a few just didn't really land for me. But in the end, guys, Jungle Cruise, I had a pretty good fun time with this one. It's definitely a good fun Disney based theme park ride of a film since Pirates of the Caribbean. Since Pirates of the Caribbean, but I wouldn't say this is like the next Pirates of the Caribbean or anything, and it's definitely not a film I would see becoming a big franchise like Pirates of the Caribbean did. But if you're a fan of like jungle films, or you're a fan of like adventurous films, or the cast like Dwayne Johnson or Emily Blunt, you may have a fun time with this one. If you miss a chance to see this in cinemas, it is available to stream on Disney Plus for free. So that's pretty much all I have to say about Jungle Cruise. And I'm going to give Jungle Cruise a 3.5 out of 5. Now let's move on to Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So this is actually an animated reboot to the Diary of a Wimpy Kid film series, and this is based off the first book of the same name. And we've already had a film adaptation of the first book back in 2010 where it was a live action, and we had some sequels, which I enjoyed the first 3 Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies, but except we don't talk about the fourth one. No, we don't talk about that. So in this animated reboot to the Wimpy Kid series, we see, like I said, this is based off the first book, and we see Greg Heffley. He's pretty much your normal average kid, but this time he's about to start middle school, and he just wants to try and survive middle school in the greatest way ever. Like, he wants to be popular and all that, although things go terribly wrong for him, and he lives with his family, which sometimes parents embarrass him, and then he has an older brother named Roderick who always bullies him, and Manny who kind of embarrasses him as well, and who also embarrasses Greg. And Greg has a best friend named Rowley, who's a lovable kid who you just want to be friends with because he's such a lovable person who's just really sweet and kind, although he does kind of embarrass Greg in awkward situations. So we see Greg, trying for himself to be put in the spotlight to basically, be popular in middle school, although things just end up terribly wrong for him, and he always gets him in awkward, embarrassing situations and stuff. So that's pretty much the story of this Wimpy Kid reboot. Now, for this reboot, I was pretty curious about this reboot because I didn't expect we were going to get a reboot to the Diary of Wimpy Kid series. Although for the live action movies, I enjoyed the first 3 movies quite a bit. It's definitely one of my guilty pleasures because not much people talk about them. Well, a few of my friends do talk about them. But for the last film that we got back in 2017, which was The Long Haul, let's not talk about that. We don't talk about The Long Haul. So when I saw the trailer for this reboot, I was a little bit curious, but I was still interested in seeing this because I'm a fan of the book series. I've read the books in school, back when I was in primary school and all that. And I've read it before when I was in high school and all that. And I didn't know much of the voice cast who were going to be in this reboot. And like I said, this is not a theatrical release film because this was a Disney Plus exclusive. And so I did watch this on Disney Plus just a day after it was released, or probably the day it was released. I can't remember when I watched it, but I did watch this on Disney Plus. And I even watched it before I went to work and all that. And after watching this reboot, I definitely enjoyed this reboot, to be honest. I thought this reboot was actually not too bad. It was pretty good. There's a few things to enjoy in this reboot. The animation in this reboot is actually pretty good for 3D, from 2D form to 3D form, which it kind of reminded me of like the Peanuts movie as well as Captain Underpants. It kind of reminded me of that style, because the style for this film is it's basically like taking like taking everything from the book to 3D form, which I really liked. I thought the animation was pretty good, and the pacing, if it's well from the way it's directed, was pretty well paced. Despite that, the runtime in this movie is pretty short. It's only 58 minutes, which that was a bit of an issue I had. I kind of wish it would have been a bit longer, but we'll get to the other issues later. And the story in this movie, it does really well for its source material, since this is based off the first book. I totally understand it. I totally dug in the whole story in this film, since I like the whole storytelling from the first book, as well as what I did in the first original theatrical film that was live action, which I like the story in that, and I like the story all over, and I did like the story all over again in this reboot. Although there are some moments from the first book, they did kind of split half in this film that were like erased, and they had to make it a bit shorter, which I kind of found to be even an issue I had. And another issue I had with this reboot was like, there was an off-putting moment for Greg in this film for what they do to his character development in this film. I kind of found it a bit off-putting for what we see and what he tries to do with Rowley and all that when they want to be popular in school, because that was a bit of another issue I had. Those are the only issues I had with it. It's the runtime. Some moments of the first book they cut out and didn't put in this film, and for the character development of Greg. But in the end, though, this reboot again wasn't too bad. I did enjoy it, but I wouldn't say this is not a great film or anything. But it's definitely a good watch. If you're a fan of the book series, or if you were a fan of the original movies, you'll probably enjoy this one. And again, it is streaming on Disney Plus for free. So that's all I have to say about this reboot of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. And I'm going to give this reboot also a 3.5 out of 5. So yeah, 2 movies that have really good ratings here, good solid ratings, and definitely good ones to watch for both kids and adults out there. And I would recommend these 2 films if you're a fan of anything that I've already mentioned for any of these 2 films I've just reviewed. So thank you guys so much for watching both of my double AK After Soul review on both Jungle Cruise and the Diary of a Wimpy Kid reboot. Let me know what you think of these films if you have seen any of these before. For Jungle Cruise, did you had a great time with this, or were you disappointed with this? And for the Wimpy Kid reboot, did you personally enjoy it, or were you really let down with this reboot? So thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more reviews. And as always, this has been Fogan's Media Corner signing off.